Thank you. Well, this isn't part of my lecture, but I have to say, we are all absolutely magnificent, wonderful, spiritual beings. And sometimes, I don't want to get emotional. Sometimes it takes an amazing spirit to bring that out. And I'm honored, Reverend Jean. And I can't say anything else otherwise. It's just, and emotion is good too. Don't ever let anybody tell you it isn't, because that's one of the most amazing gifts that God gave to us, is the ability to feel with our heart and to have the courage to show it. Okay, so my title today is Being a Farmer of Life. The quality of harvest depends upon the amount of love when sowing the seeds. I thought about that quite a bit, and I thought about how beautiful it is that we can really experience life and the goals that we set for ourselves. Those of us who are on our spiritual paths and are aware of what life really is, we know that there is much more to life than just material and physical beings, or objects, or gadgets, or things which give us comfort on the outside. How many people go through life constantly harvesting, but there's still something missing? You can gather up everything and have a beautiful home and yard and wonderful car and all the clothes and jewelry and still be miserable inside because it's just on the outside. What is their goal? What are they doing to reach their goals? Are they doing it for the sake of doing it, for the title, or for the prestige, or are they missing life? Are you missing the daily miracles that are happening every day right in front of you? Are you able to live in awareness and to recognize the beautiful things that are happening around you? Are you in a space where you can actually see them and recognize them? For example, the blooming of a flower. So simple. Have you ever really looked at the flower? It in itself is truly a miracle. Yet how many of us pass through gardens or our backyard or walk through parks and don't even notice what's around us? The little critters running around, flying around, and what it takes for a beautiful rose to open. There are all the other flowers around. How many of us have not really taken the time to really see things, or taken the time to listen to rain, or even enjoy silence? Are you so busy running around, doing things, thinking about what you need to do tomorrow, what you should have done yesterday, that it affects your ability to enjoy the moment, enjoy right now? You can still feel the crisp, cold air of winter right now, in the morning, but look at the afternoon. Absolutely beautiful, warm, sunshine. Do you look out your window and say, well, it's a pretty nice day out there, and don't even bother to go outside and feel it, let it touch your skin, let it shine down on your face, touch your spirit? It really is beautiful. But I'll tell you, we do often take weather for granted. And when it's a cloudy day, we'll be the first ones to say, where's the sun? I wish these clouds would go away. It sure would be nice to have the sun out, but did you really take the time to enjoy the sun in the first place when it was here? Don't take things for granted, even the simplest things. And how many of us go through life meeting people that we can share life with on many different levels? How many of us take those people for granted? Remember this. Nothing happens by chance. There's no such thing as coincidence. When we are brought into those situations where someone is coming into our lives for a specific reason, we just take it for granted and we start playing games. We start programming, not remembering there's a bigger picture. What are we doing? Are we feeding our own ego? Are we aware of why that person is in our life? Sometimes we expect to hear things that we want to hear. And we momentarily forget that the individual has their own beliefs, their own system, their own feelings, their own dreams, their own values that may not have anything to do with ours. And when they don't tell us what we want to hear, we get upset. Why? Why do they get upset if we share our dreams and it doesn't match theirs? Just certain things to think about. Be aware of them. It's so easy to release ourselves of our own personal responsibilities by blaming someone else or blaming something else. And yet, when we have that moment of togetherness with someone that we can really relate to on many levels, it's so inspirational. But it's so important to have balance. You need to have balance. It's really important to have those people come into our lives that we don't agree with. Because if you're just around Doris Day, love you Doris Day, all the time and everything is sunshine and daffodils and daisies, then where is your growth? Sometimes our greatest teachers are exactly that, our greatest teachers. The ones who frustrate us, the ones who make us really pay attention to our thoughts and our words and our actions. But sometimes through that, it gives us amazing growth because it really makes us think about why we are evaluating things the way we are. And maybe it might help us to change things that actually bring about peace in our lives that we may never have even thought of before. It is good to be around those who bring out the best in you. But as surprising as it may sound, sometimes those ones who bother us the most also bring out the best in us. It teaches us how to be true to ourselves, how to have courage and strength, how to stand by our values, to be the wonderful beings of love that we are, and to know that we don't have to agree with those who are unhappy all the time. How many of us really pay attention to what is being said? How many of us have a difficult time with communication, hearing as well as speaking? You know, I heard it once said that no one really listens. They just wait for you to quit talking so they can talk. Think about that. And when you're listening to somebody ramble on, remember what I just said. And think about it. Are you really listening, or are you just waiting for them to be quiet so you can tell them what you think? Because sometimes when people are talking, it triggers something that we think they should know. So we can't wait for them to get done because we have to tell them. Some of us just listen and hear what we want to hear. No more, no less. Sometimes we don't really listen or hear the entire thing, so we take that little sentence and we start tearing it apart. Sometimes adding our own thoughts to it, creating turmoil, when in reality, we're not really listening. Sometimes we're assuming. And how many times when somebody says something to us, or we say something to someone, and it gets completely taken out of text? You may say one simple statement and somehow they come back with this great big issue that you have no idea how they came up with that. That happens all the time. The most important thing is, how do you respond to that? Are you going to have an ego-based defense system and lash out at them and create even more turmoil? Or are you going to find a loving way to create harmony and re-express? As a mom, we try to teach the children how to communicate and say, you must say your words clearly. And if that's not what you mean, then state what you mean. You know, a lot of the teachings of children would really help out with reteaching adults, because we forget and we fall short of really listening, and we become angry and we take it out on everybody around us. But it can be stopped by simply paying attention, not just listening to the words that someone's telling you, but take a minute and listen to your own words. Would you talk to somebody? Oh, somebody was just saying something to me the other day, and I noticed how they were speaking to other people. And I said, would you talk to your boss that way? And he looks at me and I says, well, you talk to your child that way, but would you talk to your boss that way? And he looked at me like I lost my marbles. And I says, well, in reality, I'm just saying that because if you have more respect for your boss than you do your own child, you can't expect your child to have that kind of respect for you back. It's simple. Think about it. And if you want respect, you have to be able to be willing to give it. And then you can expect it back. Doesn't mean you're always going to get it, but it's worth a shot. Sometimes in this human life of feelings and emotions, it isn't easy being human. We are a spiritual being having a human experience, and we all know that's not easy. But living in awareness and working on making a positive difference is extremely important. It starts with you. You want to change the world, you want to change people around you. You can't expect it to happen miraculously while you sit there and stay in your own rut. You have to be the example. Be the example in your life. Be the example of how you want to be treated. Unfortunately, some people just are not capable of being happy. We all know those people, somebody. And they're not concerned with their feelings, your feelings, or anyone else's. Well, that's when you have to use your own judgment and be willing to cut your losses and know you're not going to change this person, nor should you try to change. But you know how to not place yourself in a situation where you have to argue back and forth with this person, because it's pointless. Don't let those who refuse to grow emotionally or spiritually drag you down. You are responsible for you. You cannot blame anyone else for your actions and your deeds. You have to take personal responsibility. It really is your position to do that. We are so fantastic an entity that when God created us, He made us to be multifaceted. We have eyes and ears and all of these things that we can use to become aware of ourselves and other people. Yet we one more time, we run through life, marking time, running around like chickens without our heads, not thinking about what we're doing and saying, and we wonder why. When it comes time for us to harvest, and we try to reap the benefits, and things just don't happen the way we think they should, who do we put the blame on? We've got to put the blame on somebody, because we're so perfect in our ways. We have a hard time admitting that we may have done something wrong. We were just talking about that today. Sometimes it's not what you do that's wrong, because we all miscalculate, misjudge, lose things. The part that's important is taking responsibility for it and saying, you know what? oh, I screwed up. I set that over there and I thought it was gone, but it was really there all along. And instead of saying, well, I just didn't see it at all. You know what I'm saying? Don't make excuses. Own it. It's much more simpler. The truth is the simplest answer every time. And if you know someone who absolutely can't tell the truth to save their life, it's amazing, because it's so simple and you don't have to remember things. You don't have to remember what story you told or whatever. And in reality, the truth is always the simplest answer. Stick with it. We often forget that one ingredient within us that Jesus talked so much about. Love ye one another. How many of us really know what the word love means? We come back life after life after life, trying to hopefully progress to that stage of enlightenment. Throughout the course of life, whether it's 35 years, 65 years, or 90 years, we take that time for granted. We miss so much of the finer things that we could possibly experience. Now is important. Success starts now. You woke up, you got out of bed, and you're here. You are successful. Don't program yourself to think that when I achieve this, and when I get all these lessons, when I go to class and I learn all these spiritual lessons, I'm going to be successful. I'm going to be enlightened. Do it now. Become enlightened now. Mean what you say. Say what you mean. Meditate. Feel it. Be willing to accept love now. Not telling yourself, well, I'm not really lovable yet because I've got all these things and I've got all these weeds in my garden. I need to get them out. And when I go to school and I get this degree or this diploma, then I'm going to make a difference in the world. You can make a difference now. It doesn't take that. It helps, but it'll help more if you see yourself as being successful now, not tomorrow. Start now and be that seed so that when it comes time for harvest, it'll be a lot more bountiful this time, because every day is a new beginning. Every second is a new beginning. If you were to think of your soul as a beautiful rose, you would work towards the time that you will grow and bloom and blossom into your true self. If you don't feed it, nourish it, and water it, that little rosebud might be weak, and it will not be able to manifest to its truest, fullest potential. You are in complete control. It's up to you to take care of yourself. Don't wait for someone else to make sure that you're eating right, to make sure that you're getting the adequate exercise you need, that you have your vitamins, that you have this or that. That's your responsibility. And if you're having problems doing that for yourself, then you reach out and have someone help you. But you don't do it by beating them up. Well, you know I needed this, but you didn't get it, so now look at me. Now I'm miserable and it's all your fault. That is not the way to do things. So as we go through this year, why don't we start planting a harvest and be aware of the little things in life that could have so much meaning to us. And the people that we come across and meet, let's just accept them. Accept them as individuals and not judge them by their appearance. Do not judge them by their color. And do not judge them by their sexual preference, because we are all spirit clothed in a human body. Spirit has no gender, no color, and no race. Spirit just is. Love has no color, no gender, and no race. and love is all. How many times was it expressed through the life of Jesus to love one another? He never expressed levels of love and to whom you cannot love. God's love, light, and truth. It's stated that way many times in the Bible. God is love, God is light, God is truth. God is not an angry, judgmental, wrathful spirit who created us and gave us free will to watch us fail so that he may punish us for loving the wrong person. God bless Martin Luther King for being able to make a difference in this world. And he suffered for it. But it's far from complete. There's a lot more ignorance that has to be erased. You know, my son came home with homework the other day. And he said, "Mom, is it bad luck when a black cat crosses your path?" And I said, "Absolutely not. Whoever came up with that is absolutely incorrect. In fact, it's good luck." So I thought, well, we're just going to change that. Of course, he probably got that wrong because they expected him to say yes. It was school homework. But it all starts, there's a deeper meaning there. It starts with what you're telling yourself, what you're feeling, what you're allowing people to tell you. Superstition, fear, disbelief. I love black cats. I think they're wonderful. I also love the number 13. I have a son that was born on Friday the 13th on a full moon. And we nicknamed him Wolfie. And if he heard me tell all of you that right now, he would be like, "Oh, Mom." Yeah. But what are you allowing yourself to feel and yourself to think? Because prejudice actually starts at a very young age. I know that my children will be colorblind, as well as not judge those who are in same-sex relationships. Absolutely not. You know, my daughter came home one day, and I think that she was really pleasantly surprised. And I have to say, this is one of the reasons why I know I married my best friend, because he's a good man with good values. She came home and she said, "Dad, how would you feel if I brought home a black boyfriend?" And he looked at her and he said, "If he treated you with respect and love and kindness, then what else could I say? I would say, that's wonderful." And she kind of stood there looking surprised, because I don't think that that's a normal response for most parents. And I was in awe that my husband didn't even bat an eyeball, an eyelash. He just gave it straight out. What a wonderful world it would be if we could just accept each other as spirits instead of the skin that we are clothed in. You know, you want to pick someone apart for what their sexual preference is. What about those beautiful people who chose to come into this lifetime born with both genders? Could you imagine living that life? Could you imagine what they must go through because of the ignorance of people who carry hate and judgment in their hearts? Well, that's a whole other talk. But I want you to know, regardless, in the end, we are accountable for everything we do, be it good or bad. How we treat others, and most importantly, how we allow others to treat us. It's so important. You know, I heard something very profound today. It was really wonderful. It says, "You cannot take a rosebud and pry it open, because if you do, it will die." Just remember that about people. You can't pry them open and expect them to believe what you believe. Their unfoldment has to happen on their own time, in their own way, and the way that it helps them to blossom into a beautiful flower. Something else that was very profound that I heard is about love. Take love and hold it in your hand. If it struggles, let it go. If it sits there freely, then embrace it. Love shouldn't have to be a struggle. Life should not have to be a struggle. If you're struggling in any way on your path and in your life, I would hope that you would take a look at it and see what it is that you need to change. Because sometimes it's as simple as you're just not having enough fun. Stop taking everything so serious, but wake up and be here. Be aware. Feel what's going on. Open your eyes. Don't take everything at face value. Just because somebody told you it's true doesn't mean it's true. Do the research. Most importantly, feel it and allow yourself to feel. When Jesus walked the earth plane and gave us instructions on how to live a happier, more harmonious life, he did not place boundaries or ultimatums on who we were allowed to love. The written, forbidden laws of love for man were indeed written by man. What truly matters is that we accept others as individuals. Let us share with them our respect and our friendship. And when you know the true meaning of giving and receiving, you can give someone hope by just giving them a smile when passing them on the street or saying hello. Most importantly, not expecting anything in return. Just measure for measure. That's when we can truly become farmers of life. Just imagine all of the harvest that can take place in 1 year. I am honored to be here and to share what I perceive as my truth with you. Thank you.